Brian James. This might be the most important video I have made. In this video, I'm going to dissect, explain, give examples of how to become a critical thinker. I'm going to give you an example of what critical thinking is. I'm going to give you the definition of what critical thinking is, and I'm also going to quote Spider-Man. With great powers comes great responsibilities. I'm saying this because when you understand and can implement critical thinking into your way of thought, into the way that you process, it's going to give you the key that will unlock anything you want in life. It will make helping people, it will make reaching your goals so much simpler, and at the same time, on the other end, it will make doing things that are wrong and things that are evil easy as well. So remember, you have a responsibility with the knowledge that you learn, and I'm only telling this to people that I want to do the right thing with it. Okay, I'm going to jump right in, and I'm going to read my favorite definition of what critical thinking is. Critical thinking is the intellectually disciplined process of actively and skillfully conceptualizing, applying, analyzing, synthesizing, and evaluating information gathered by observation, experience, reflection, reasoning, or communication as a guide to belief and action. Take it all in. Let it soak in. See if I can simplify it a bit. Critical thinking is the intellectually disciplined process of skillfully conceptualizing, applying, analyzing, synthesizing, and or evaluating information. So the first half is saying is that it is the process of having discipline in your intellect so that you can process information with those listed methods. And then the last part is information gathered by observation, experience, reflection, reasoning, or communication as a guide to belief and action. So I have spent a fair share of time trying to teach people how to learn critical thinking, and I've learned through my experiences coaching men, helping people with this, that there is X amount of the population that cannot successfully understand what critical thinking is. They hear the words and it just whoosh, goes over their head, and I give them the example I'm going to share with you, and they hear the word party and they just wait. They just look at me and smile and nod, and when I'm done and I'm waiting for them to reflect on and to tell me if they understand the question, they simply just tell me a party story. They were like waiting the whole time because of the trigger word party, and they tell me some stupid ass party story, and I'm just like, you're not getting this. So use as much as your focus as you possibly can, because I'm going to share the example, the easiest example I've discovered to explaining how critical thinking can be implemented, used, and seeing if other people are capable of understanding it. This is the example story. So, your friend is throwing a party and you want to go, but there's somebody that you very strongly dislike. We'll say, for the sake of the story, his name is Joe, going to the party potentially, and you don't know. So you call your friend up. It's 3 scenarios. You call your friend up and you ask, hey, the party that you're having, is Joe going to the party? And they're like, no. And you're like, oh, okay. Why? And they're like, he works. You get off the phone and you start thinking about it. And you're like, well, I know Joe's work schedule. Like, I know when Joe works, and Joe works during the day. This party's at night. Joe's going to be at the party. I'm not going to go. Scenario 2. You call your friend up who's having the party and you ask, is Joe going to be at the party? And your friend replies, no. And you're like, why? Because Joe's sick. You get off the phone and you start thinking to yourself, you know, a lot of people were sick last week. I was sick last week. And I only was sick for like 2 days. And I don't know if I was even sick enough to not have gone to a party. Joe's going to go to the party. I'm not going. Not going. Third, final scenario. You call your friend up who's having a party and you ask them, is Joe going to the party? And they say, no. And you're like, oh, why? And they respond saying, because Joe is in China. And you get off the phone and you're like, oh, Joe's in China. I'm going to the party. I will ask this and give you a moment. What is the example of critical thinking in that story? Okay. It is nothing about you. You are not the critical thinker in this example. The example of critical thinking is that the person having the party wants to have as many guests to the party as possible. He wants the best party possible. And when he told you that Joe is sick or at work, you were able to rationalize it and break it down and justify possibilities for Joe to potentially be there. But when he said, oh, Joe's in China, your brain rejects the impossibility of that because it's so far-fetched. Who would be this crazy person lying about Joe going to China? And you're not even asking yourself at the same time, like, the rational questions, like, why would Joe go to China? What's in China for Joe? And so the person using critical thinking in this example is the person throwing the party because they're getting the result they wanted, as many people coming to the party as possible. And that's just one example of how critical thinking is used in many different ways. And it's used in a lot of negative ways too. Advertisements, commercial marketing techniques have learned how to use critical thinking in ways that are not beneficial for anyone else than the people profiting off of those advertisements and those commercials. And it's also used in filmmaking and all forms of life. It can be used to manipulate somebody and get the exact result that the person using it wants to get. But I'm giving you the fundamentals of understanding how you can be the person who understands when critical thinking is being used against them, and how they can implement and use critical thinking in a beneficial way, and not just for yourself, but for the people that are also in your life, for the people you care about. And of course, you can use critical thinking in relationships. You can use critical thinking with your girlfriend, with your girls that you just meet and going on new dates with. You can even use critical thinking on any female. If it's your wife, mom, grandma, it doesn't matter. There's no one who is immune to the possibility of critical thinking working. Because there's so many forms. That's one example of so many different forms. So what would be an example of using critical thinking for game, for dating, for getting something that you want? I'm making this up as I go. So I think there's a lot of different answers to that. And a technique that is a valuable technique to use when in a relationship with a female is always presenting yourself. And if you feel like you don't have a lifestyle that justifies what I'm about to say, then fake it until you make it. And watch more of the videos on this channel. You won't have to fake it for long. And what that is the technique of always presenting yourself as if you have a lot of options, that a lot of women want to spend time with you, that women go out of their way to talk to you, to introduce themselves to you. And by letting your female interest in your life know about these other women, it makes her go into competition mode. And women thrive with competition. And it's also beneficial because it makes you more attractive, because women, the dream man for every female, and if you disagree, tell me in the comment section. Okay, if you know something, I don't think that's true. Maybe they're lying. But the dream man for every female is a man who can get any woman he wants in the whole world, and they want him to, but he chooses not to. Yeah, soak that in. Let that one register. I don't know if that is a real thing. I can't say I've ever met a man that would match that description. But understanding these things and the fundamentals of what critical thinking is will only benefit you as you move forward. Do the right thing and only use it to benefit yourself if it isn't at the expense of somebody else's well-being. And somebody might say, you might be thinking, Ryan, you just explained how you can say things to women to control their feelings. Isn't that wrong? And it's like, well, what are your intentions? Are your intentions to find the best partner that you want to be with, that you don't want to waste your attention and your time? Because having a healthier relationship is not the wrong thing. And pushing yourself to be somebody that your partner finds more attractive is not the wrong thing. It's the right thing. So, if you like this video, like it, share it, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Notification bell, which one? Hit the notification bell if you want to be alerted of more high quality, valuable videos like this. Share your opinion. If you think you know a better example of critical thinking, story, or however so, share it in the comment section. Share it in the comment section. It's how we communicate. I read them all, and that anything about critical thinking I enjoy reading. Share it. I do want to say one more thing. I'm going to repeat the Spider-Man quote. With great powers comes great responsibilities. This is in your hands now. Use it wisely, use it correctly. I'm Ryan James. See you in the next one.